Pro 14 kicks back into overdrive. The top 14 was on over the weekend, which was pretty interesting. Loads of Irish interest in that. And then also the Rugby Championship. So we're going to kind of cycle through these over the next while. Let's start with Paul O'Connell. Like, really, we haven't had you on since he made the announcement that he's going to Stade. You could tell from the stuff that he was doing in recent years that he kind of was like having a look at life outside of rugby, but all the while just kind of keeping in with the TV punditry and with the under-20s and a bit in Munster. And it was like, I feel like I want to be involved in rugby. I have all this rugby knowledge.
Yeah.
That like him working in insurance or the bank would have been a bit like, he just would have been angry.
I think it's great to see it, and he's always said, you know, I think when I had a chat with him before and after, was that he'd regret it if he didn't give it a crack. I think this opportunity presented itself. Mike Prendergast is there, who's done remarkably well in France in the last number of years, with clubs who have struggled with budget and stuff like that.
Explain the Mike Prendergast story, because a lot of people.
Mike Prendergast was in Grenoble for a couple of years with Bernard Jackman, who gave him the opportunity there, and they worked great together. Had a fair bit of success in keeping Grenoble up, because you have to realise budgets there are massive, and when you don't have a big budget, you're scrambling. It's kind of like the Premiership, isn't it? You have the top 4 or 5 or 6, and then everyone else is scrambling. And they got relegated 2 years ago, and he went to Oyonnax, and he stayed with them for a season, and he got this opportunity. Oyonnax got relegated last year. It sounds bad, but again, it's a budget issue. They got promoted the year before, and
so he's a backs coach.
Yeah, and I think Oyonnax in their matches last year, they kind of captured the imagination of people watching, saying they would be scoring like 25, 30 points, 35 points, and getting beaten by a score or two. And he was the attack coach with Oyonnax, so their attack was getting loads of compliments, and he got an opportunity to go to Stade and with Heineke Mayer, and I think it was a great chance for him. It happened towards the end of last season, and Paul wasn't in the equation at this stage, so I think it was a brilliant opportunity for Mike to go to Paris. And actually, you know, when you're scrambling with a team and you're working with no budget, now there's a bit more pressure on him now. He's got to, you know, they have a budget, they have star players, so it'll be great to see how he goes now. I think he's a brilliant coach. Even as a player, he was, you know, a lesser player, and he won't mind me saying that, with Munster for years.
Where did he play?
He was a brilliant coach, scrum half.
Okay.
He was a brilliant at his skills, brilliant communicator, and you know, I think I always felt he would make a great coach, and he's under the radar a little bit, and I think what's happening in Stade with him now is brilliant. Himself and Paul are very close, so Paul going there now is a brilliant opportunity for them. I watched them on Saturday against Perpignan. I played there many times in Perpignan, and they're just after getting promoted. So they're struggling a little bit for the star players, and the money there is just phenomenal. So it'll take them a little bit of time. They were poor, Perpignan. Stade Francais beat them 46-15. They look very, very dominant and
Who
powerful.
are the Stade players that we'd know? What
Paris is there, Heineke Mayer, Van der Merwe used to play with Leinster, loose head prop, Macalou. He's a back row forward, phenomenal player. Munster, remember a few years ago when he got that brilliant breakaway try in Paris. So they have a lot of big budget, a lot of big players, star players there. They've signed Johan Maestri this year, Gail Fiku.
Okay, they're the ones that
they have a billionaire owner. You think last year when Racing tried to take over Stade,
steal them,
and they nearly got folded. So yeah. They look powerful. Paddy Jackson played for Perpignan, scored a try. He played behind a pack that was well beaten. But it was a great start for them, and it was good. It was on Sky, you watched the whole thing, and the camera was zooming in on Paulie a few times. So I think they'll be pleased with that, but they'll realise that it's a bloody long season. It's amazing to think that you're playing competitive rugby.
Yeah. Still August.
In August, you know.
Yeah, and they'll still be going at the end of May. Tell me, is he enjoying life in Paris? Is that like?
Yeah, I think he's only there a couple of weeks, so I think it's kind of bedding in and putting his own stamp and on what's happening there. I think he's excited by it because there's a good. It's kind of. You never know in France, because you never know what a president will do, what a chairman will do. Will they change things up? Will the players buy into what you're trying to do? If they allow someone like Paul. Bring that Irish mentality and Brendy as well, because they would have seen, the standards that are here, the fitness levels, the way guys look after themselves off the field. If they allow some of that change, but you never know. Michael Cheika went there a few years ago and tried to change that whole culture and stuff. And sometimes they just struggle in France. Foreign coaches, they don't buy into them. So I think with Heineke Meyer being the head coach, hopefully they'll have a good base there to have some success and do well. And then, of course, Racing, they had a brilliant win. Zebo was playing there, and Donnacha, they went to Toulon and won 25-9. So that was brilliant for them as well. So the two Paris clubs had good wins away from home at the weekend.
Paulie must be delighted to get that second opportunity to live in France. I'm sure that was part of the appeal of going to Toulon as well, just to experience a different culture for a while. And you rarely get a second chance in sport when it's that cruel to you with that hamstring off the bone career-ending injury. But he's got it, and I'm sure that's part of the appeal as well. Obviously, improving his coaching career is priority number one, but the French way of life, you'd suspect Paul O'Connell will be really well suited.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, Paul will think of the chance of getting success. Who's he going to be working for? The lifestyle stuff and where you live and all that. I think, look, there was an appeal with Toulon. They were very successful at the time. He wants to win trophies. He'll be no different as a coach. He'll want Stade to win. And so I think first and foremost, he would think, am I going to a team that have ambition, that are going to, and it'll probably be a bit of adaptation for him there to change, to work through that mentality thing. You saw when Rog went to Racing, it maybe took a while and players started speaking out then about how much they liked his attitude and his ideas and the change, and they kind of bought into that change.
Has he kind of paved the way, I wonder, for Irish coaches?
A little bit, yeah. Well, if you don't respect someone like Ron O'Gara, who had achieved so much on the international stage, even if you're a French guy.
Quick counterpoint is how Sexton didn't fit in at Racing. Do you know?
Yeah, I know, but he was straight in as a player, and he probably, I suppose, when you come in as a player and you start trying to make change and be very vocal to guys, and maybe they looked at him a bit, where Rogers kind of, in fairness, probably had a bit of time to bed himself in and suss out how things went. And you just need 2 or 3 key guys in the dressing room to buy into your ideas, and they start bringing other players along, and I think that happened with Rog. So if they don't respect someone like Paul and what he's achieved in the game, and maybe listening, but I suppose he will have to kind of feel his way, how he says things, and he can't do what he did in the Munster dressing room, start pointing guys out and shouting across at me and screaming and roaring at guys. But look, he's very intelligent, and like I said to you, Owen, I don't want to speak for Paul and say what he's thinking, but knowing him, I think he'll go there with ambition. He'll want success. He'll want him to do well, and he'll love nothing more than the business end of the French season, which is very long, to be in the mix to try and win something.
You would presume as well he's not working off a base that Rog is working off, aka getting rid of Coke and stuff in the canteen. And like that was really weird, wasn't it, when Rogers talked about that afterwards? That's
Coca-Cola now, not the other
Coca-Cola,
Coke.
yeah, which I'm sure was.
Yeah, but look,
that's also what Rogers talking about.
That is the thing that you got to try and change. It's they've unbelievable talented players, and it's just diet, nutrition, what they do away from the training ground during the week. The kind of, did they go out? Did they drink red wine? Did they eat the right food? All that kind of stuff. So yeah, you got to be patient, and that's some of that stuff. But I think they've assembled a very good coaching team. And look, Perpignan were poor. It's probably.
There's more stiff tests to come.
Yeah, there is. But look, I think it's a good start, and I think they'll be pretty excited about what lies ahead, and they have an owner who has money.
Yeah,
like his budget is there for the season now. They have the biggest budget in France now.
Yeah,
34 million or something.
Well, that's ridiculous.
When you think of the Irish province, they're 6-7 million.
Yeah,
they now have 34 million to work with. So
that's going to change things in rugby
a little bit. Yeah, well, Toulon did it for a number of years, and they winning 3 European Cups and a couple of French titles. So, you got to have the dressing room on your side, though. I think the Toulon thing is precarious at the moment, and there's been a lot of changes in coaches there, so it'll be interesting to see where that ends up.
Yeah, exactly. Your man's talking about selling up or pulling his team from every competition they're playing in. Just to talk about the Rugby Championship, so after the game, Steve Hansen was saying, he's given out to the Australian rugby public that you shouldn't be embarrassed to lose to this team. In a couple of years' time, everybody's going to look at this team as like one of the greatest teams of all time, like patronising, self-aggrandising, And 100% accurate from Steve Hansen.
Yeah, they're biggest rivals, really. You know, the rivalry between New Zealand and Australia, even that when I was down there in June, you talk to Australian people and they hate each other.
Yeah.
The New Zealanders, and they love nothing better. In Eden Park on Saturday when I was watching this, the crowd just love beating Australia, and they were sensational. To be fair, we've said it over a number of years how good they are, but I just think this current group are...
Beauden Barrett's even better than Dan Carter.
Yeah, he is, there's no doubt. I think he's running game and he's pace and he's decision making, and it's just phenomenal. And you think a few weeks ago people were talking when Richie Mo'unga, the Crusaders fly half, who was outstanding in their run to winning the Super Rugby, they were saying, well,
maybe they'll get a game. Yeah.
They beat the Hurricanes in the semi-final and he kind of overshadowed Barrett a little bit. But as a 10, if you're Packer, it's what happens up front dictates, like the platform he's getting, and Barrett.
Maybe even more terrifying as a whole, the All Blacks could be if Barrett moved out to 12. I don't know, just pure speculation, given he scored 4 tries. I mean, clearly the benefit of Beauden Barrett is what he does with the ball in hand, rather than as a playmaker, and he's a good playmaker. But ultimately,
I don't think they'll move him. I think when he plays, the pace he puts onto the ball is frightening, and
you can't get that from the 12 channel.
And Smith, then he can, but it's a little bit more congested, and he loves getting the ball in his hands early. He can make decisions, bring other guys into the game. I think, he's undoubtedly the best out half in the world, but I think best running out half. Anyway, sometimes the kicking game isn't on the money, but he's an incredible player. 4 tries he scored, and they were sensational on turnovers. And I think that's the most impressive thing. Their transition when they turn the ball over, and that's kind of the story of the last 2 weeks. It's just pass, but it's the accuracy, Jar. It's just a little tip-on passes. It's nothing extraordinary, but the lines are running. Someone makes a line break, and just the support is there. Their anticipation is phenomenal.
One quick word: big win for Argentina. Important win for the tournament, that actually Argentina can win games. Been a long time coming.
Sure.
And it wasn't close. It wasn't a fluky last-minute breakaway try.
I think, and they matched that South African physicality. Rassie Erasmus came out and said it was an embarrassing defeat, not good enough. But I was really impressed with Argentina. It's a tough place to play over there, and it's good for the championship, to be fair. But it was a good game to watch, and when they get a bit of confidence up, and a lot of young players
as well. Saturday afternoon as well. It's a nice
Saturday
time.
Night, yeah.
Saturday night it was brilliant to watch it. So.
I chose Milan against Napoli instead, which is also a good decision. But kind of wish I watched that
rugby.
Instead of the rugby. Yeah, I know, it's kind of blasphemy, isn't it? Poor Rassie Erasmus would be devastated to hear that.
Eating bread is soon forgotten with you Munster fans. Right, lads, thanks very much, Quinny. Nice one.